So I haven't talked about on TikTok or in public really about what happened with my job since I quit. Um so I mean it's been a couple months, so I figure it's not going to, fuck up my chances any more than, I mean the industry isn't hiring at this point. So, doesn't matter. I'm just going to vent. Um so I worked for a company that did patent search, which meant that we had a service that went and downloaded patent data, you know, new patent information from all the different patent offices in all the different countries, which is, by the way, free. That's all public domain information. And then we loaded it into our database, which was complicated only because we did all of the countries. Now, to be clear, you don't file a patent in every country. Nobody does. And so the only people who really need to know about where all the countries' patents are like the giant corporations. And even then, they don't bother. They file in the US and Japan, maybe China, and then maybe the EU. Um, anyway, uh, we had to sort of pivot to analytics because regular companies started getting internet access. Um, and so by the time that I had joined in 2011, um, the company had pivoted primarily to we were taking advantage of we'd figured out how to search patent data very fast, and then we were taking advantage of that to do different kinds of analytics and different kinds of like we'd send people automated emails, customers, um, automated emails when basically their saved searches would change, which generally indicated they should sue somebody. And that was a service that we did. We had trademark data and uh, some scientific data that I didn't really work with, um, but it was primarily patents. And we did pretty well. We were part of a much larger, well established company. I will not name names in this video. If you look me up, you can figure out where I worked. Um, and this larger company was in debt due to bad investments and sold our unit, which again was profitable, to a hedge fund, private equity, um, that then took about, I can't say it took about 10 years to finish gutting us because they haven't quite finished yet, and it hasn't been quite 10 years. So they took over in 2017, and initially uh they weren't doing much. And then around 2020, there were major shifts and there were waves of layoffs, and then there were more major shifts and more waves of layoffs. But they were sort of like they I worked with a lot of software engineers who were like much more talented than I was and were doing very genuinely impressive stuff. Like, I'm a competent software engineer. These guys were like writing novel machine translation implementations in Perl in their free time. Um, like amazing shit. What happened is there's a restructuring where all of those guys got moved to a different unit, and then I was left in the unit with sort of all the leftovers. And then and they were sent to the different units so that they could then be kind of forced to help with, it was an internal political problem, so that they could be forced to help with that unit's attempted takeover of our software, which they had been attempting to do for at least 5 years at that point. Like I had been involved in like the previous couple times that they had said, "Oh, we have our own search engine. We want to get rid of your search engine that's super fast and replace it with our slow one." They finally got, permission to gut our team and take the smartest people. And I I wasn't uh sufficiently specialized on search performance, Elasticsearch performance, whatever. So I stayed in a project that was clearly like a political sort of lifeboat. Like it was middleware, and the whole idea was that we would sit in between the front end and the back end doing nothing, but everybody had to go through us. Um, so like it wasn't it wasn't interesting work. I did my best to sort of clean things up. But it was like it was a stupid make work project kind of. Um, and and uh, and eventually, what happened is, as soon as the other search thing got, functioning semi okay, they laid off all the super smart engineers working on search. Or in one case, they fired the one of the smartest guys I've ever worked with. Um, just got fired because he said, "Oh no, this thing that you want to do is not a good idea for this, that, and the other technical reason." And the manager said, "Oh well, you're just being you're just being a problem. You're fired." Um, at this point, I was not working directly with them. Um, and then we got word that all of the Windows machines that were being used by employees had to be upgraded to Windows 11. Now, I was not using a Windows machine. I was using a Linux machine, and so I didn't think it applied to me. Uh, it turned out, and I found this out when I attempted to log into my work one morning. It turns out that that actually applied to all machines because they fucked it up, and that everybody without a Windows 11 machine was permanently locked out, and I had to wait a month to get them to send me a Windows 11 machine, and then I had to bug them for another month before they would give me permission to install the developer tools that I needed in order to do my job. Uh, and then I started getting um, this change um, in how tickets were being assigned to me, where I was getting large numbers of seemingly simple tickets that would have inaccuracies in the tickets such that they could not actually be completed. Like, uh, uh, oh, you need to make this endpoint in order to wrap around this function that already exists. Well, the function name would be wrong. The endpoint would name would be wrong. The it would give an incorrect timeline, and then so I would implement it up to spec, and then say I would hear, well, why did you do that? It's all wrong. Well, because you wrote the ticket wrong. At the same time, I was locked out of most of the development discussion. I got talked to for my performance, and then got threatened to be fired. And pressure is too high. I just quit.